Of course, sorry, real estate. I forgot that. Real estate. I'm not fully into real estate. I have partners who do real estate, but I think one of the, they call it, I've heard people call this, they call it blood money, in the sense that it's one of the places that you can invest your money and in a couple of years become a millionaire. I'm not talking about you actually building. You just buying land, leaving it, and in a couple of years, the value automatically increases. Why? Because once again, population is increasing, and more people need housing. So everything ties down to ties back to population. And if you're in Lagos area, I mean, within the next couple of years, that place is going to be out the roof because of the developments that are taking place in that particular state right now. So those are the three things that I would.
Thank you very much, Deepo. Real quick, Chico. So, people say things like, you hear it said, people like to put their money in places where there are minimum risks. In your experience, is there any such thing as a risk-free investment or business?
No such thing, and you shouldn't even look for it, because high risk equals what? High reward. You know why your bank doesn't pay you anything? Because there's no risk. So what you should be looking for is opportunities that have high risk, because those opportunities will have high reward. Part of the reason why I don't invest in the regular stock market, I invest in penny stocks. Why? Because it's risky. High risk equals high reward. So that should be what you're focused on. You know what I'm saying? Figure out ways, right, to be able to invest in something that can produce a substantial return for you. And then if you want a sure thing that's not risky, find out a way to invest in yourself, because whatever you invest in yourself, right, through experiences, through education, you're going to be able to apply that to opportunities that you see out there.
Thank you very much. Because of the fact that we don't have all day to do this, so I'm going to ask Deepo to give us his last words, after which I'm going to come back to you, Chico, for your last words, and then we'll wrap up this session. So, any last words you got, Deepo?
Yeah, if you've been working in this country for 10, 15 years, and you're still struggling to make ends meet, the chances are that those ends will never meet. And the truth of the matter is, the United States it's a system to keep you working in the same cycle. And the only way to become wealthy, is to do two things. You own a business or you invest in something. If you don't do one of those two things, you will continue to work for the rest of your life. And from my perspective, the best place to invest your money right now, I'm not getting paid by any country to promote any brand, is Africa. If you can't go to Africa to invest, find someone who is doing exceptionally well in whatever country you decide to invest your money in, trustworthy organization, and put your money there. And like Chico said, let your money work for you. That is the only pathway to financial freedom. Own a business or invest in something.
Thank you. What are your last words, Chico? What are your last words?
Deepo's right. Last words is stop thinking and do. I'm going to say it again. Stop thinking and do. Most of us, right, what we focus on is acquiring knowledge, acquiring knowledge, acquiring knowledge, acquiring knowledge. You have all the knowledge that you need. Just go do something. Stop being knowledge constipated. And go do it.
Thank you very much, Chico. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for both of them. While they prepare to leave the stage, and
So, about 16 years ago, I was an intern combing the streets of Lagos, looking for a real estate company to train as a real estate professional. And after visiting about 7 firms, if I can remember, I began to doubt, like, did I choose the wrong profession? And then finally, by some recommendation, I got a call to visit this real estate company. And then I go there, and then it's just different. I see excellence, I see class, I see real estate on a global scale, and I'm like, this is it, this is where I'm supposed to be. And little wonder I'm doing what I do today. They said what you learn is as important as who you learn from. So it is my greatest honor and privilege to have in our midst today my boss, once a boss, always a boss, my coach, my real estate mentor and role model, Mr. Benga Olaniyan. He is the principal partner of Benga Olaniyan and Associates, Estate Surveyors and Valuers, and the chairman, board of directors of Estate Links Limited, International Real Estate Consultants. Estate Links is the international arm of the real estate practice with offices in England, Philadelphia, USA, and affiliates in South Africa. Benga Olaniyan and Associates was voted Firm of the Year in Lagos State by members of the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers for 2017 to 2019. He is a fellow of the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers, fellow of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, International Institute of Rating and Revenue Valuation UK, and International Real Estate Federation. Benga is regularly invited to corporate events to speak on real estate and construction, the most notable being the Africa Day at the London Business School and Harvard Business School, respectively, where he was a guest speaker and given a rating of outstanding by the African Students of the Institution 2012. A graduate of University of Lagos, greatest acolyte in the house. He has attended several executive courses over the years, including the Lagos Business School for the Chief Executive Program, the University of Liverpool, UK for his MBA, and the Harvard Business School, Boston, USA. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Benga Olaniyan. Such a pleasure, coming all the way from Nigeria, all the way from Nigeria.
Thank you. I'm going to start by asking a question. How many of you are aware that our president got married yesterday? You see, the major problem that I believe we have in Nigeria is the fact that there is a dearth of true information for those in the diaspora. When I heard that news 2 days ago, I burst out laughing. And I said, my country has not become that bad, that our president will get married to a serving minister. And so many people picked it up. It went viral. 2 days ago, I was speaking at a real estate event in Trinidad. And someone actually asked me that question. We need to ensure that we positively launder the image of Nigeria. Because honestly, I was extremely pleased with the comments of the two speakers earlier on. There is so much for us to do back home in Nigeria. There is more than enough for us to do. I have lived in Nigeria all my life. I do business here. I do business in the UK. But I tell you, a couple of friends asked me earlier on today, when are you leaving? I said, I'm flying out tomorrow because I can't wait to go back to monitor the great investments that I have in Nigeria. Well, let me start. I have a few slides to share with you. I'm going to start with a few statistics that will tell you about this great country we call Nigeria. The first one is that we have a housing deficit of 17 million homes. 17 million. I mean, the question some people would ask is, are you saying 17 million people are homeless? No, what we are saying is you need 17 million homes so that those who live 15 in a room would actually have what, bodies like the United Nations will consider as decent accommodation. 16,000 babies are born daily in Nigeria. We are very busy people. 16,000. That again tells you about the population that you were talking about earlier on. And Nigeria has the world's fastest growing, can you change the slide please? World's fastest growing middle class. Next slide. Now, the ranking of doing business in Nigeria. Again, this might seem like bad news for us, out of 190 economies. When you look at that, you will see that it's only getting credit and protecting minority rights that we actually are in the top 100. You might then ask, but there's no mortgage system in Nigeria. This was actually done by the World Bank, and the credit they were talking about was if, for instance, you want to borrow money for your business. But protecting minority rights, you see, despite my glasses, I can't see from here. I think we're rated 75 out of 190 countries. But let's move on. What are the challenges of real estate in Nigeria? Because a lot of us have actually faced a number of those challenges. The first one I'll talk about, which we all know about, is the poor infrastructure. Again, that is for the government to take care of. The currency risk, and I'm going to talk about the antidote to the currency risk in a minute. Corruption. Now, 2 days ago when I spoke at that conference in Trinidad, one of the things I said, I turned to the crowd and I said, I'm sure you have no corruption here. That was the first time they laughed. The question is, how exaggerated is the corruption? Whatever anyone says, I build in Nigeria. And I tell you this, I'm neither APC nor PDP, and I'm not sent by any government. But since the current president came into power, when you're putting in your application for permits, for instance, in the past, the first thing they will ask you for is that brown envelope. Now they have become scared because they know Big Brother is watching. Things have not changed, honestly, but things are getting better. And I strongly believe that they can only get better. So we go to image issues, we're talking about the same thing. Image. Who are the people to talk positively about your country? I had to send a lengthy message when all the guys I met in Trinidad said, oh, you are Nigerian. You are a Nigerian. I said, yes. I said, wow, Nigerians here are great. The best doctors are Nigerians and Cubans. And that's all they know about Nigerians in Trinidad. Obviously, our 419 boys have not gone in there. But hey, another thing you need to let people know, for goodness sake, is we're 200 million people. It only takes 20,000 bad eggs to mess up the image of 200 million people. I'm going to pick some of these Caribbean islands where the population is 70,000. All you need is 1,000 bad eggs, and nobody will know that they've got bad guys as well. Security issues. Again, I've lived in Nigeria all my life. I am standing here. I have not been kidnapped. Make no mistake, please. Things are happening in Nigeria. No matter how it sounds, and this is actually very sad, but it is the way to go. You are your own local government. So you make sure that you stay safe. You make sure that you drive the kind of car that at least your door will be this high. And then you make sure that you have your backup generator, which takes care of your power. So at the end of the day, you look at it that a lot of what we complain about out there can be taken care of as long as you purpose to do well, and you're doing well. Now, what are the real estate challenges? I've talked about country challenges. The first thing is the land tenure system. Many of us have heard of the people, the so-called omoniles, right? Some of us have fallen victim of them. You see, when you are looking for something that is cheap, you will be dealt with. I'll tell you this, in the early days of my career, I also paid we call it school fees. I paid my school fees to omoniles. And after my lawyer went to the site once and was chased by market wealthy people, he asked me to get another lawyer. That's when I decided to walk away. But the question is, what's the solution to that? You buy land that has got title. Listen, you do not buy the brick and mortar. What you buy is the paper you have in your hand. And that's why there's a statement in law that says, "Quick plantator solo solo said it." Whatever is affixed to the land belongs to the land. So you stand here, you have your C of O. And one crazy land grabber sells your land to someone else. If you are that inclined, all you need to do is sit down and be inspecting your site from a distance. Because what that person is doing is building for you. So you must ensure that you have title. I've had people say to me that, listen, I can't invest in Nigeria because they're land grabbers. Yes, they're land grabbers. Every single property I've invested in, I tell you this, there's a parcel of land, I bought a huge parcel of land in Expo. Those who know where Expo is in the outskirts. I have not visited the land in 3 years, and I have a child that is in school there. Because I have my title. If I go there in the next few years and someone has built on it, then he's actually helped me. So we need to realize that the land tenure system has its own ways, and all you need to do is do the right thing. Lack of friendly finance. And I'm going to combine that with mortgages when I get there. Yes, we have a lot of uninformed vendors. I mean, you see a property and someone says, I want to sell it for 100 million. And you wonder that what planet did this guy fall from? This property is probably worth 50 million and is trying to sell for 100. But in our country, you find people saying, let him come and price it now. How do you start from 100 million to 50? But what I always encourage people to do is to employ the services of the valuer, which is what you'll do here. You get an appraiser. And once you do that, obviously, you'd make very little mistakes. Then, of course, I've spoken about land grabbers and the currency risk. Talking about currency risk, I'm going to share a slide with you. Can I have the next slide, please? I'm sure some of you have seen this. This property is not for sale by the buyer. And this is a saying that I really love. I've made mistakes in the past, and I've learned. If you're not making mistakes, take it from me that you're not making decisions. What you need to do is ensure that you mitigate those mistakes by moving in the right direction. Now, I want to talk about real estate as a hedge against currency devaluation. You see, one of the things I've had people saying is, yes, I bought a parcel of land for 1 million. It has become 10 million. But what was the value of the naira when you bought it for 1 million? In real terms, if you convert it to the dollar, you are not going to get what you invested. But I'm going to share a few stats with you. Can I have the next slide? Now, this is for a 4-bedroom, semi-detached house in Dolphin Estate in Ikoyi. In 1993, which was the year I set up my practice, this wing of duplex was sold for 1 million naira. The naira to the dollar was 22 to 1. So if you bought it at that time, you would have bought it for $45,000. In 2019, that property is 80 million naira. Yes, our currency has dropped to 359,360. But check that out. You sell it today, you convert your money, you're getting $222,000. So yes, the naira dropped from 22 to 360, but then see how well real estate did. Again, I picked a parcel of land in VGC. This is even a shorter period of time. In 2000, it was sold for 1.8 million. The dollar was 105 to 1. That was $17,000. Smallest one, 600 square meters. Sells for 68 million. Dollar is 359. So today, if you sell that property you bought for 1.8, which was $17,000, you will sell it for 68 million, which is $189,000. This is despite the fact that the naira dropped from 105 down to 360. And it's the same thing, I decided to go to the cheaper parts of Lagos. A plot of land in Abidjan, 1993, was 50,000 naira, which was $2,000. Now it's 10 million naira, which is $27,000. So whichever way you look at it, at the end of the day, what happens is that there is always capital appreciation for real estate. Now, this is an illustration that I've always loved. Many of us just see the bad and the negative things about Nigeria. And this is what happened to Walt Disney when he saw a rat that a lot of people run away from. And what did he do? He created Mickey Mouse. And is an extremely wealthy person today. Now, what opportunities do we have? Residential real estate, commercial real estate. I was thinking, is that the American version of the Nigerian anthem? But I don't think it is. Now, the annual demand for houses, guess what? Is 700,000 units. And right now, typically every year, 100,000 units across board, low, mid, and high, are delivered in our market. So this tells me that we have a huge deficit waiting for investors to come in. And Lagos and Luanda have an average A-grade rent that compares with leading global office markets, such as London, New York, and Hong Kong. The big companies are coming into Nigeria, and they're developing all the skyscrapers. You see, the fear that we as Nigerians have is preventing us from tapping into what these other people are doing. I tell you what happened to me, a personal example about 10 years ago, when the kidnappings were very heavy in Port Harcourt. So I was boarding a flight. For those who know, our local airports are usually a bit rowdy. And there were only 2 flights left that were leaving that night, one to Abuja and one to Port Harcourt. So they made an announcement I didn't hear very well. But I saw a lot of expatriates going towards the aircraft. I said, this must be going to Abuja. Because no, can I say Oyibo here? Because no Oyibo man can be going to Port Harcourt. So I queued behind them. It was when they were picking my boarding pass. And they said, no, we haven't announced Abuja. This plane is going to Port Harcourt. Nigerians were avoiding Port Harcourt. A lot of expatriates saw what we did not see in Port Harcourt. By the time we woke up, All the kidnappers had now spread to other states. These guys had gone with all the business. So we need to decide if we are ready to take risks or not. Next slide, please. I want to speed up. Next. Next. Okay, now I'm going to touch on a few typical opportunities in the market. And this is for a number of people who haven't been back home for so long. This, for instance, Madison Court, is a development that we sold to a lot of people in the diaspora. Now, this is for those who are looking for high-end properties. And it's just to give you a fair idea of the kind of properties you can get. The next one, the Parade, townhouses built like your typical townhouses here. Now I'm going to round up because yes, I have talked about problems. Now what are the tips and the game changers, what I call game changers, especially for those who have had their fingers burnt? The first thing is you must work with accredited companies. Let me tell you this. In the US here in 2007, I got scammed by a real estate agent who was working for an accredited real estate firm. So I was able to sue that firm and got some success. So we should not, if I can use this word, Nigerianize fraud and scams. It happens everywhere. But if you deal with the right people in Nigeria, there are also professional bodies to report them to if they decide to have sharp practices. So we need to realize that. Number two, use a real estate lawyer for paperwork. People call me, I mean, a lot of people that I have here in the US, Germany, UK, everywhere, and they send me paperwork, and they ask me to verify. You know, we like using this word, is it a genuine transaction? And I tell them that even when I am investing, I send this to my lawyer. So we need to be ready to pay for that service. Because penny wise, as they say, dollar foolish. Now remember that your purchase is only as good as your title. It's only as good as your title. I had someone send me some documents. I said, listen, what document do you have? He said, I have a purchase receipt. I said, I can give you a purchase receipt for any parcel of land you want. I won't own it. Some would say, I have the land survey. I can send a surveyor to do a land survey of the boundaries of this hotel. Does that mean I own it? No. So the question is, what title do you have? And while I don't have time to run through the titles, it's important for us to know that the certificate of occupancy is a no-brainer. You have that, you have absolutely no troubles. Now, pay for professional advice. Remember that if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. Pay for professional advice. I have seen people ready to invest $100,000, and when the lawyer asks for $2,000, they say, please let me send it to my friend. Pay for professional advice, and you can't go wrong. Look at opportunities in satellite towns. You've got places like the Expo Axis. You've got places like Agbara. You've got Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. You've got the Life Camp in Abuja. You've got Gwarinpa. You've got Jabi. And honestly, a lot of the people here have got investments that you can actually, immediately after this, speak with them and check out the different opportunities. Next slide. Buy layouts when they're launched. It's important for you to be an early mover. Next slide, please. I'm glad this had been touched on earlier on. Remember, your family members are not all real estate experts. You know why I said they're not all? Some of you have family members that are real estate experts. Thank God for you. But you see, the most ridiculous situation I've been in was when some guy who had spent about 20 years in, not Australia, that very far place, New Zealand, came to Nigeria and was introduced to me. And his brother had said, I'll help him sort out any problems. So he had bought this parcel of land and was building somewhere called Akuwajo, for those who know Lagos. So he came to me in the office. I said, okay, let's drive down there. Now, one of the people who knew his site was his dad's old driver. So that one took us there. I'm sure you know where I'm going with this story, but sometimes it's so graphic. We got there, he had a picture of his building on 2 floors. And when we got to the site, I'm exactly 6 feet tall. The grass was far above my head. There was absolutely nothing there. Now this guy, the last comment that you made earlier on, that you must just do something. There's this new estate called Alaro City that I invested in, and I got a few friends to invest in. Plots of land there are 15 million naira. A friend of mine paid a deposit for the land, 3 million. And when the new governor of Lagos State came in, he had a rumor that the new governor was not friends with the developers of Alaro, Australian company. So he went to the company who sold and decided to pull out his funds. They gave him his money back. You know why? They had started selling the land at 18 million. So he got a refund because he panicked. And there are a lot of us who are like this. We are not interested in taking risks. So let's remember to know when we see business opportunities. And this is similar to what was said earlier on. If you see a snake, just kill it. Don't appoint a committee of snakes. Just kill it. Because it's either going to bite you, or next thing the snake is gone. Let us remember, even as a roundup, that people are making money in Nigeria. I'm not kidding. People are making money in Nigeria. People are losing money. But what most people are doing here is you are hearing the negative stories. You are hearing stories like your president being married to a serving minister. Do you know how upset I am about this? Because we have gotten to that level that we are so myopic, trying to believe that our dear country, Nigeria, which is not true. So I'm going to ask, and my charge to you is that even as you take this first step, or as you have taken this first step to come here to listen, that you take the next step to invest. Because I tell you, whatever you are buying today will not be at the same price tomorrow. And of course, if you come to people like us tomorrow, we'll be selling to you at tomorrow's price. I thank you so much for listening to me. Have an amazing day. I actually forgot. I think Mope actually is trying to hide her age. Because I remember it wasn't 15 years ago, it was probably about, 2003 thereabouts, so let me not, that she actually came as an intern. And for the benefit of a few, especially the few young faces here, I can't see too many young people, as long as you're diligent and you are ready to work hard, the sky won't be the limit. I put something up there that you have to be able to, I mean, a good name will take you places. You must make a conscious effort to differentiate yourself positively until you no longer need to introduce yourself. And my belief is that this young lady is going places, and honestly, I'm going to ask that you keep this up, and if you do this again next year, be assured that I'll come. Thank you.